All right. Anyway, from where we
Please
started,
continue on from wherever you left off, that most appropriate place.
and Susan, I'm assuming you were done at the prepared.
Yes,
Okay, so we can start with the submitted questions then,
sure.
and which means we'll start with Susan.
Okay,
All right, let's go, ladies. Give me a minute here.
all righty.
Okay. All right, now we are on to the submitted questions from the residents in Summit. And the first question is, how do you see Summit using shared services with other towns in the future? What are the benefits of the shared services? Susan Hairston.
Thank you, Anne.
Mhm.
Using shared services is a excellent option for efficiency. We are currently doing it with our medical officer, Megan Avalon, and the Westfield services. We're doing it with dispatch, and it works extremely well. We are benefiting from the information that's happening in the other towns with our medical officers. And we are also with dispatch. That has really created efficiencies for having other police, fire, and first responders. And in the future, I could see us exploring it in other areas where there would be efficiencies. However, we have to make sure that Summit is benefiting from this.
Thank you. Eileen Kelly.
Thank you. I think shared services, when we talk about tackling the burdensome tax issue in this community, when we talk about affordability, is the ideal place to start. And when we look at the budget this year, an expense that has gone up quite significantly is recycling. I think also the customer service on recycling has gone down, or has consistently seemed to have gone down if you look at See Click Fix. So I think that area is ripe for an opportunity to look at shared services with another community. Again, the benefit is that if we have to make a lofty investment, let's say for robotics or for a more futuristic view on how we recycle, we can share that expense across communities, and Summit's bill is a lot smaller and our services are so strong. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The next question. Like businesses everywhere, Summit businesses have struggled due to COVID-19. What can the city do to support local businesses? Eileen, we start with you.
I think this is an extremely important question. I've worked over the last few months with businesses one-on-one to talk about how they can reimagine operating in this environment. I think there's three things that we can do. One is I think we need a formalized business mentorship program. Summit has rich intellectual capital, and our businesses can certainly benefit from experts across various fields. I think two, our Summit Downtown Inc., SDI, could provide enhanced services that give our business owners a pooled resource for digital marketing or e-commerce strategy that's lofty expense. And three, I think we need to eliminate unnecessary process from permitting, licensing, and other business activity that we know is frequent for our businesses downtown and for dealing with COVID-19.
Susan Hairston.
So Anne, my opponent has shared with you all of the things that are currently happening in Summit. We have a downtown businesses and businesses all across Summit that were impacted horribly by COVID-19, and we worked hard to make sure resources were provided to them from a generous philanthropic community, from the state, and we will continue with the SDI supporting them. And I personally offered solutions through ordinances to make it easier for the businesses to bypass things that were holding them up. And so we do have to support our businesses by keeping our town healthy so that people will come in and shop here. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Susan. Rebuttal, 30 seconds.
I just want to quickly note the ideas I've come up with are tangible solutions that currently do not exist. We do not have a formalized business mentorship program. And if we do, many of our businesses aren't aware of them or not participating in them, as I've heard firsthand. And secondly, I think when we talk about SDI, we need to be specific on what the resources that our businesses need. Again, digital marketing and e-commerce strategy is not something I've seen offered or that I've heard from businesses directly that they're being given. Thank you.
Thank you.
And SDI absolutely reaches out to all of the businesses in town. The Chamber of Commerce also offers opportunities for businesses and is continuing to do that.
Thank you. Next question, and we're sticking with COVID-19 for the moment. Due to COVID, the town has suffered financially. What ideas do you have for recouping lost revenues? And I'd like to remind you both that we're talking about ideas that you have, not what the other one doesn't have, but the ideas that you have for recouping lost revenues. And we start with Susan Hairston.
Sure. We have the opportunity to apply for CARES Act grant. We are actively waiting and hoping our federal government will pass the HEROES Act. And we are will be applying for those when they become available. We have engaged the philanthropic community, and that is something I have great experience with, and working with incentive programs for our businesses to help them recoup revenues. Thank you.
Thank you. Eileen?
Thank you. I think our city right now is at a crossroads. Like many cities across America, COVID-19 has changed the dynamic of how people live, work, get educated. And I think that makes it right for reimagining how we deliver some of our services today. And I think revenue being a challenge, privatization is one thing we should look at. We look at our parking structure, given that non-residents might not be taking up as many slots, and that residents will be, we should look at privatization of our parking garages. I think the privatization kind of umbrella would also fold into any other municipal services that we manage, our pool and our golf course being another that we should explore. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Summit has earned a reputation as a sustainable and green city through its various initiatives, including the free market, park line, and Earth Day cleanups. What other citywide environmental initiatives would you support? Eileen, I think we start with you.
Thank you. I think the one of the things that I love about Summit is obviously our trees and how many beautiful green spaces we do have. I think from an environmental perspective, I think continuing the strong education that we have both through our Summit Free Market and our, I know we have a lot of visitors visit council and talk about the importance of the environment. I think one thing that I think we could formalize a little bit more with consistency when it comes to the environment are cleanups. If we look at Bryant Park right now, for example, many residents often say, how can we fix Bryant Park? And while we wait on Union County, I think we can initiate more community-oriented events that focus on keeping Summit beautified and our parks wonderful.
Susan?
So Summit has a long history of being ahead of everyone in environmental and sustainable issues. We have a long history of both parties actually working together to do cleanup. It wasn't able to happen this year, but one of the things I'm very much interested in is energy and looking into how we can incorporate solar. And this is something that requires a long-term look, but it is something that we're motivated to do. And so I look forward to continuing that with the Environmental Commission. That is phenomenal in Summit.
Thank you. Next question. What is your position on the single-use plastics ordinance which was passed? What environmental actions would you support as a council person and why? Susan, I think we're up to you first.
Absolutely. So I was 100% in favor of single-use plastics. It was one of the first items I was able to vote on when I took my seat in November. It is important for us to save money with recycling and in looking out for our future. And like I said, it has a cost implication. So I'm in favor of it. I know that we have to educate our community on ways to endure in this area, but it's critical that we move in this direction that saves our planet.
Thank you. Eileen Kelly?
I'm a big advocate of our environment and especially of maintaining Summit in a beautiful place as it can be. I think two things about the plastic ban ordinance. I think at the state level, something has been passed, and so a local ordinance frankly seems redundant to me. But equally important, I think our ordinance has a lot of loopholes, and I think we need to get really serious about how we're going to actually oversee and manage this piece of legislation. So we have to get serious about that, and I think we have to come up with the right solution to make sure that we don't just pass ordinances that don't get enforced, and that we are attentive to the dynamics that impact our business as well as individual choice.
So I'd like to just add to that. Enforcement has been secondary in this year since it just passed in November 2019. So we actually are doing things, working with businesses to not penalize businesses, but to help them get on board, and also citizens even asking, they being a part of the enforcement. That's how we work here in Summit, collaboratively. Thank you.
All right. The next question is, what is your view on Primrose School moving to Summit? And I think we start with Eileen. Okay.
Thank you. I think this is a really important topic. I've heard a lot of feedback from many families and residents across the area that's impacted. I think two things about Primrose School, and specifically the location on Morris Avenue. It's right near another school. There's a lot of traffic. And I think that any traffic studies that are done as part of the planning board analysis need to be done under the lens that is relevant for Summit. And so it's not enough for an outsider to come in and analyze our city. We need to equally have the voice and perspective of the parents most impacted. I think it's also important to share what, if any, are the real benefits provided to our city, either from the rateable perspective, but first and foremost, it's about addressing the needs of the community of Summit. And I'm a big advocate for small town charm and supporting small business in our community.
Susan, Primrose School?
Sure. So Anne, I actually have a background in regulating childcare. So I'm a big advocate of childcare, but however, Primrose is an application that's in my neighborhood. And as my opponent says, she's absolutely right. It's not just one school. There are 3 schools, Washington School, Oratory School, Summit High School, and there is a traffic nightmare in this area. And having living on Lowell Avenue, I know the challenges of the traffic from the Magic Fountain. And so this is something I expect the planning board to do their due diligence to make sure it is considered, keeping the residents in mind, because daycare, we know, is a viable need in town. However, it cannot harm the community that it's moving into. Thank you.
Thank you. At least we agree on the Primrose School and traffic, huh? All right. The next question is, what areas of Summit do you feel could benefit from redevelopment? Susan Hairston?
Yes. So I gave this considerable thought because I, having lived in this community, my parents lived in this community, really love our green footprint, our very diverse neighborhoods, and that's something I am devoted to keeping. However, we have an amazing Broad Street redevelopment plan that is underway that will really revitalize Summit's ratables by bringing in businesses. It's something that was a result of the master plan, and that corridor on Broad Street is going to really keep Summit the strong and viable city that it is. having others wanting to come here and shop. It's going to provide housing for,
Okay, thank you very much.
sure.
Eileen, redevelopment in Summit.
Redevelopment, Broad Street West, obviously on the horizon and an important conversation I hope we get into. But I think in terms of other areas around Summit, something that I consistently hear near Park Avenue on Morris Ave is that people feel forgotten. Those businesses and sometimes those areas feel forgotten. And so I think when we talk about beautification as part of redevelopment, I think that's an important thing that we need to keep in mind, that it's not just our downtown, it's not just the surrounding area, Broad Street West, but it's the Park Ave area, it's the Morris Ave, it's River Road to consider. And I think those things all make those areas more attractive to both do business. And of course, we want to ensure walkability so that families enjoy them as well as we beautify them.
Okay, yes, Susan, go ahead.
So
Rebuttal.
I want to just correct my opponent in that council held a meeting with the Park Avenue residents, and a discussion is underway on ways in which we could beautify that neighborhood. And we are looking into that and involving the community actively in that regard. Thank you.
Okay, next question. This might be a little broader than the previous one or less broader. How would you make Summit more welcoming to a broader spectrum of racial, ethnic, and gender identity diverse populations? How would you measure success? Eileen, I think you first, all right?
An important question. I think Summit is an incredibly diverse community today. I think that we do a wonderful job of welcoming people from all different backgrounds, all different walks of life. And I think about the future and what type of community we also want to be in the future. I think it's really important for us to make sure we message what Summit is to the outside and be really deliberate about including people to participate on committees, to take up leadership positions in different parts of the city. And so I think I'm really keen on building and growing a participatory environment for our local government, making it exciting. And personally for me, as a Hispanic woman, I'd love to use my fluency in Spanish to also thrive with that messaging in Spanish and members of the Hispanic community.
Thank you. Susan Hairston.
Well, you're going to be surprised. This is another area where my opponent and I 100% agree. Fourth generation Summit resident. When I'm outside of Summit, people are always surprised to hear that. And so we've got to get the word out that Summit is a welcoming place for all nationalities, ethnicities, and in terms of our celebrating LGBTQ community, it's something our activities are representative of here, our community activities. We have active groups in town. We have the Mayor's Forum on Diversity, where holding events. We have the Interfaith. We have the African American Action Association. We have the Summit Chinese Action Association. So ideas that they have would be welcomed also.
Thank you. Go ahead, Eileen. Rebuttal.
Quick idea that I think would be nice for the council to initiate and I would love to take on is a Meet Your Neighbor campaign where we highlight residents from across the community of all different backgrounds, maybe once a month or quarterly. And I think that also just shows both our small town charm of Summit and the diversity within our community that we can promote.
Thank you. Next question. What can we do to help seniors stay in Summit? Susan, I think you're first.
Yes,
Go
very
ahead.
excited for that question. We just started a committee, the Summit Silver Committee, and there is a led by Tracy Keegan, who is a longtime volunteer in this community. It is populated by seniors, by city staff, and really asking them, what do they need to have happen here? And we know that making Summit affordable is one of the most important things that we can do, and making sure that services that meet their needs in terms of getting around town, food security. These are the kinds of things that make Summit habitable for seniors.
Thank you. Eileen Kelly.
This is a topic close to my heart. I'm a renter in a building close to downtown, and many of my neighbors and friends are seniors who have downsized. And I think we need to do two things when we talk about affordability for seniors. One is we need to address the burdensome tax issue that we have that sort of forces seniors to have to downsize or leave Summit. And two, I think that Summit needs to promote its housing stock for seniors. We have a lot of beautiful locations that seniors can downsize to if they want to make that choice. 1 out of every 4 people in Summit is a renter. And I think, single level homes, not a lot of steps, is a definite right place for seniors to stay in Summit and live in Summit.
Thank you. Next question. How will you work to address the large number of vacancies in our downtown? I think it's Eileen. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, this is a question dear to my heart. We've seen some additional vacancies over COVID naturally happening given the environment. I think though, in a moment of crisis, I think our city has an opportunity to really message what it wants to be. I think especially for Summit's proximity to a lot of other neighborhoods, it being a hub near obviously a major railway system, we have an opportunity to welcome entrepreneurs, to create an environment where we are the easiest place to do business. I mentioned earlier, digitizing our processes, making it less cumbersome to do business in Summit. I think that will attract entrepreneurs who are looking to solve some of the issues that we see in COVID and hopefully pilot ideas that we can benefit as well as a community and fill some of the storefronts.
Susan?
Thank you, Anne. Summit is has a vibrant downtown and is a very attractive place for businesses to come and do business. And the number one thing that we can do right now is to ensure the health and the safety of this community. And that's something that I've been working on as chair of the Safety and Health Committee, and working with the businesses to make sure that parking is handled in a way that serves the residents, serves the downtown, and what we know is important to keeping Summit pedestrian friendly. That is the kind of development that we have. So we have done a great job attracting businesses, but we've got to get over this COVID and help our current businesses be strong. And so that is what our redevelopment plan is also going to do.
Thank you. Next question. What is one attribute you admire in your opponent? Susan Hairston, you first.
Oh, that's easy. I love Eileen's ambition, her courage to stand up and be an example for young women of diverse background, that they can have a voice. And I know that doing that is an important thing to do, and volunteering and getting out there and getting experience is a great way to use that courage and ambition.
Thank you. Eileen Kelly.
Thank you, Susan. I won't similarly say the same thing about you. I'll give something different. I admire that you are a mother. You have a big family in Summit, and as someone entering that next stage and looking to the future, to be a mother, to raise my family in Summit, to think about Summit's future, I think I'd have some things to learn from you about the great things about Summit and how you've raised your family here, and can certainly probably use some tips about juggling being a mom and again, carrying a big role in our community.
Thank you. Last submitted question. How would you work across party lines on significant issues? Eileen?
I think this is something Summit is fortunate in its long history to have. And I think it's exemplary of our leadership from both party affiliations. The idea that consensus building and commonality are key. And I believe that running for local office, running for any office, is about serving a community and serving everyone in that community. And equally, that means working with everyone. So I'm excited as a council person, if elected, to work on some of the things that perhaps are very different than what I initially thought about. One of my favorite things to do is learn and hear and listen about ways that we can work together and find middle ground.
Susan Hairston?
So working across party lines is something that I've done my entire career as the Democratic, lifelong Democrat, having been appointed by Republican mayor, Republican governor for the board of tax commission board at the county level. I have done this because in the end, it is not what party you represent, it is what you are doing for the community. And so really having different opinions brings out the best if you can work collaboratively, have great experiences engaging the community. And this is something that I have done and will continue to do throughout.
Thank you. All right, ladies, I'd like to thank those people out there, the residents that submitted questions, and we will now have the candidates' closing statements, beginning with Susan Hairston.
Thank you. I really just want to thank our residents for tuning in and caring. I want to thank my opponent for, like I said, throwing her hat in. But frankly, I think this is simple. Summit needs and wants experience. They need a track record of local results. Many volunteers you've worked with have raised their hands and showed up. Or how many volunteers that you know have raised their hand to show up and do good work, but you've had to spend so much time teaching and showing them. Now is not the time, Summit. While I applaud Eileen's standing up and doing what's hard, running for office, she needs to join the ranks of the many volunteers that here in Summit, gaining experience and a reputation. And trust me, if you are good, you will be called on often and in varied ways to serve your community. I have a commitment to serving Summit across all sectors, and I want to see to it that we thrive and do well despite this corona that is going to impact us for several more years. And we need to have a on the ground active council doing things that keep Summit strong, that keeps businesses moving in, that keeps residents able to engage with us. And I know I don't want Summit to be a place of just $1 million homes. I want it to be a place that my children can come back and live here and raise their children. And so I am committed to keeping Summit strong and hope that I can count on Summit to re-elect me. And if they don't re-elect me, I will continue working to keep Summit a great place. Thank you.
Thank you. Eileen Kelly.
Thank you again to the League of Women Voters, to our moderator, to Ms. Harris for participating. Ms. Harris and I do agree on one thing. The choice, I believe, is also simple, the right choice. I think our town is faced with unprecedented challenges, and we need people with Fortune 500 experience. It's missing from that council today, a new and fresh perspective. And I'm not only up for the challenge, but I've been doing so in helping our downtown businesses, our Hispanic community that has undoubtedly, directly that I've been told, feel left out from a business perspective. And so I'm excited to bring the energy. I'm excited, and today I hope you've heard some of the tangible solutions I have to our peskiest problems. And I want to be mindful for our Hispanic community to also give a brief closing message for them. Comunidad Latina, muchas gracias por escuchar el debate de esta mañana. Prometo trabajar por nuestra querido Summit muy duro y quiero para cualquier pregunta o sugerencia que tienen, que por favor se comuníquense conmigo. Estaré presente y siempre aquí para involucrarte en las cosas que pasan en nuestra ciudad. Muchas gracias. So thank you again.
Thank you. I hope you found this event an informative one. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Berkeley Heights, New Providence Summit, I'd like to thank you for your time. Streaming of this candidates forum will be able to be accessed from the local LWV website located at lwvbhnps.org. I would like to remind the public that the November election in November will be all vote by mail. All active registered voters in New Jersey will receive a vote by mail ballot and there's no need to apply for one. If a voter does not receive a vote by mail ballot, the voter may vote using a provisional ballot at the polls on election day. Please follow the instructions on the ballot carefully. Sign the certificate, but do not detach it. Plan to complete your ballot and return it as soon as possible. It must be postmarked by November 3rd, Election Day. Secure ballot drop boxes will be located throughout Union County. Call the Union County's Board of Elections at 908-527-4123 for the location of these drop boxes. For detailed voting information, visit vote411.org and lwvnj.org. If you have any questions or voting concerns, call 1-800-792-VOTE. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Right.